challenge is the conscious mind, the bit that I'm speaking to now, can only process about 40 bits of information per second.
Being not prepared.
Not gigabytes, not megabytes, just bits. So we have a limitation of, where
Unit
we can
made it
divide
in,
our
even
awareness.
though you voice me out.
So our subconscious
I don't care.
takes over a large part of that functionality. And this is why, we'll sit down and go, ooh. And actually it was a bit of fluff. We thought it was a spider. We're scared of spiders. It looked like a spider in our peripherals, and our immediate fight or flight response is that could be danger and we need to prepare for it.
I'll tell you.
And in essence, that's what's happening to us all the time through our lives, through this internal augmented, dialogue of what it's portraying onto it, what our selective awareness patterns are looking for. So if we're insecure about something, then when we're talking to somebody, we might look for mannerisms like they're not interested. Yeah. It might be the tired, and lethargic, but
Yip is tired. We're gonna get Yip to go to Bali and switch the team. The whole team is gonna switch.
Once we start debugging
rotate people around
the system and removing them, those anxieties basically subside, and they no longer have an impact on your reality because you're no longer needing to validate that. You're no longer needing to seek that out and identify the areas where that supports the belief. So this is
Matthew joined just in time for interdimensional communications with the crystal.
For, modalities is to get rid of the trauma within the system.
This is the coaching unit.
Change that level of perception.
Forum. Beautiful event.
So I like to do things kind of interactive and things like that. So if anybody's got any questions,
you're amazing. You're great. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Beautiful, Adrian. He's Adrian. Sorry for my computer degrees of filthiness.
About things in your life.
Haven't been using it much.
There's a process of testing,
who needs computers anyway?
In the right areas.
Screens, really? We can look through crystals and see the world.
If you have any physical ailments, any diseases, looking into the psychology, into the language, into the kind of the meta description of that part of the body and that particular illness can be, first, to a degree, transformative. It can bring your awareness patterns into certain aspects of your life, which, in essence, are needing that recoding, needing that kind of
recoding.
Reset, so to speak.
Is good.
And the ultimate goal would be, one of the challenges with being a practitioner is that you can only work on so many people.
That's it.
Doing one-to-one. And it's, a reduced scalability.
Right.
And this is where, if, we're able to use these potential tools like the kinesiology app, the voice analytics, and then have a deductive process and have an AI, a machine learning engine behind it, we could literally make a virtual psychologist which could create a way of identifying the psychology, creating a way of processing it out, and then measuring
Bali vibes to you all.
Objectively whether that's had a functional effect on your system. You may have an experiential effect, where the anxiety, the stress, the fear has subsided.
Oh no, it disappeared.
But in essence, a way of objectively measuring it so we can then store those processing techniques, and then when other people kind of come onto the technology and they have similar
then we teach and
we
share,
can then
direct data into the right places to integrate.
And in essence, then measure whether they will work on other people. And eventually we would have a huge database of processes, techniques, modalities, and this can be opened up to all sorts of practitioners out there. And we could create a platform which would make psychotherapy a lot more affordable for the masses. If you were able to access it through your phone, through an app, and it wasn't reliant on another practitioner on the other side, but an algorithm, in essence, you could impact millions of lives. The scalability is obviously vastly increased. And this is kind of where I've been exploring the power of the voice analytics.
Communications work, yo.
On many clients I've been doing before and afters. So, and when we look at the voice recording, the output afterwards, it can actually identify the area of psychology and biology that I have affected, that I have improved, I have reprogrammed, so to speak. And that will apply to, any practitioner out there on the market, any modality, any retreats, any coaches, any energy healers, Reiki, whatever it might be. It's getting those objective, measurable tools so we can quantify and identify and verify that something has been achieved in that process. And this is where the ultimate kind of
Whoever's listening here, let me know how you feel hearing it.
If people
if you're okay, drink some water.
Investing in modalities,
check in your body.
Investing, working with practitioners, or even working with technologies to they become more valuable to society. They become less of a burden. They won't need medical systems as much. They won't need medications as much. They won't need, looking after as much emotionally and physically. They will then, as they improve themselves, you cannot give what you don't have, but as they start to achieve these life skills and health skills and psychological skills, they become, more productive to society. They are able to contribute more and actually be of service and give. So your intrinsic value would go up. So
intrinsic value
is basically the proof of work concept, using these different ways of quantifying that process. And that's upscaling kind of bit by bit. And then maybe we can incentivize people to do that and make their
this is way too quantum. It doesn't want to
go through the process.
Right. So
I don't know what I'm like for time. I think we've got a 30-minute slot. We've got 5 minutes. I'd like to.
You're amazing.
Yeah, you've got 5 minutes. No problem.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about leaving a bit of time open for some questions.
Unit still mutes people. Can you imagine?
Ask anything about the technologies or the way it works or anything like that. One challenge I have on here is I'm not entirely sure how to access the messages.
One question from Yip.
Yeah.
What actually got you to this?
Could you repeat?
What actually got you to this practice, like kinesiology?
Well, it was kind of an interesting experience. I had just gone through one of the biggest kind of upheavals in my life. I had a very successful renewable energy company in the UK. This was in 2011. And we were nearly doubling in turnover every 3 months. We were doing, 400,000 US a week, about 70,000 profit. And the UK government, in its wisdom, decided to change all the policies, and it totally destroyed the industry. And everything that I put into it was destroyed overnight, which was a very painful experience. I lost a hell of a lot of money. My partner of 11 years left me because of it as well, and I had all sorts of turbulence with my ex-wife, and I went through a place of cognitive shock and I was suicidal at one point, and I thought I had some kind of brain disorder. My brain stopped working. You know, I always identified as being reasonably intelligent, and I just couldn't think. And I kind of went on that healing journey, and I spent a year convalescing.
Tell me how not to think.
I decided to go out, and I watched the film The Secret, and there was a guy called Jack Canfield on there. I wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and a book called The Success Principles, and he kind of stood out in all of the practitioners on the on The Secret, the film. So I decided to engage in a process, and it was a little bit of an experiment.
I think everyone has pretty much the same story. Let's be honest.
I was, incredibly in debt.
Let's not overhype stories these days.
And
of woke people.
I had literally £100 to my name at the time, and I was like, okay, it's an $18,000 course plus flights plus accommodation. If this law of attraction kind of stuff works, then I'm meant to be there. I'm going to be there. And crazy stuff happened when I set that intention. I ended up going on the training and the flights and everything like that. Just magic and miracles manifested everything. And I got talking to Jack Canfield himself and told him about all the things that I want to do and want to achieve and things like that. And he introduced me to his mentor. And basically, his mentor he met quite a number of years before, and he was struggling to launch Chicken Soup for the Soul. He'd been to 130 publishers, been rejected by them all.
Yes, I am.
And
Mary
this guy, Dr. John, had come to one of his trainings, and he told him about it, what he could do, and the muscle testing. And doing the muscle testing, he identified that Jack had a limiting belief around money, and that he had this glass ceiling, theoretical ceiling at $2 million a year. Above $2 million a year, he had an emotional trigger which was related to his father and actually being accepted and things like that. And Jack's response was like, oh my God, he said, for the last 10 years, I've been just below $2 million a year, like 0.9, 1.8, 1.7, 1.9, 1.8. And I've just never been able to break the 2 million mark. So processing that out and getting that out of his system, literally 3 weeks later, he got a contract for $65 million for Chicken Soup for the Soul, and it became later the largest grossing book in history, beating Stephen King, having the 8 titles in the New York Times top 10 bestsellers list at one time. And I listened to the story and was like, I need some of that. So I went to Dr. John and he taught me the process and, all the stuff that he'd learnt and the power of what it potentially can do.
Okay, you listen, I do the thing. It's a way of
tapping into your innate, your core inner knowing. And it seems to be able to tap into our deep intuition that's connected to the whole. And I've been able to predict future events using it to a very, very high level of accuracy.
Good.
Now, when I learned all this from Dr. John, I was incredibly skeptical. I was like, how can this possibly work? So I spent 2 years kind of being devil's advocate. I would test something and then see what happened in reality. I would test things on clients and see what their responses were, and then go through the process of programming out and see what their experience was. And that's kind of the very quick kind of story of what kind of led me in there. It was that personal journey of rehabilitation for myself and finding a way
it's
of healing.
Always like that, no?
And
Hello.
I've always wanted I've known for a teenager that
we're just looking for our own modalities that works for us, custom made for us modality.
And I needed to sort things out with myself. But that journey into really exploring kinesiology on a very deep level, I mean, using it multiple times a day, for the last 7 years, even muscle testing things like, in a new restaurant, is this, which dish am I going to enjoy the most?
Yeah.
Scoring them out of 1 to 10. And then eating it and seeing, was that a 9?
Scoring, that's good.
I would muscle test. So one of my challenges I mentioned previously was employing the right people. I would look at them and go, I like them. They seem to have the skills. I'll give them a go. And then they would end up being useless or ripping me off or underhand and things like that. And using the muscle testing, I've now been doing kind of interviews with that I think we're coming to the end of my session.
Yeah, we need to
interview.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. So I did interviews basically using the kinesiology without actually using the person. And the person, when employed, did exactly the same as what the muscle testing did. It was quite amazing. So that's a quick wrapping it up there.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Good job. Good.
Most welcome.
Cool. So for the next session, I'm going to invite Andrew to share
room
his
2.
thoughts and
we're going to go to room 2 or we're going to stay here?
And there he is.
Fitness and nutrition. I don't know. I go where I... yeah, this is what came through so far. I have more.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. I love you all. See you later.
To give you a little bit about